Welcome back. Today we are going to do this warm-up and then we're going to have some time to work on yesterday's assignment and anything you might be missing or need to correct. Okay? Remember, you turn in everything on the corner of my table, that turn-in bin. Well, if you were not here yesterday, or if yesterday seemed kind of tough, or whatever, you got to learn this right here, right now. So I'm going to show you. Is everyone looking straight up here? Feel free to respond when I ask questions so this can go faster, right? Number one. By the way, actually, before we get to number one, you see it upcoming? We have this quiz tomorrow over solving equations and inequalities. What we've been doing all week, okay? Notice at the top in red, all the stuff that's due. Main thing that's new, that's due, that's not in the grade book, is solving inequalities. And you got your warm-up, your objective you wrote down. So now, look at your page. If you have not written down anything, that's a big problem. Make sure you write down something, right? If you wrote down the problem, but you didn't start it, I want you to be encouraged. You should try these on your own, okay? But number one, where's x? X is on the right side, right? I need to get that x by itself. Now, if you don't like x on the right side, you could start this whole thing by flipping the whole thing over. You could. You just got to make sure you flip the inequality. We're not going to do that. We're just going to solve it like it is, see what happens, okay? But x is on the right side. So what on the right side do I need to get rid of first? The 5 or the minus 7? What do y'all think? The minus 7, I call it the loner. What's the opposite of minus 7? Plus 7. So go ahead and write plus 7 here. If you do it on one side, you do it on the other side. Okay. So minus 7 plus 7 are opposites. They cancel out. I like to scratch them out. On the left side, what is negative 3 plus 7? 4. Okay. Now, I just added on both sides. That does not change my inequality. So it's going to stay this. What do you call that? What is that symbol called? Is it a less than or a greater than? Less than, because it looks like an L, kind of, and it's pointing to the left. Less than, points left, looks like an L. Okay? Now, it's underlined, so it's less than or equal to. Cool? Less than or equal to. And then on the right side, bring down 5x. Next step. 5 is in front of x. How do I get rid of that number in front of x, the coefficient? Divide. 5 and x have a little invisible multiplier between them, right? So the opposite of that multiplier is to divide. If I do it on one side, I do it on the other side. The 5s, they cancel out. So my final answer could be 4 over 5, which if you type it in, it doesn't reduce, right? It could give you 0.8, but like we'll just leave it like that. Now here's the deal. I just divided by something. Does that mean I need to flip the inequality? What do y'all think? Okay, it depends what you divide by. So I divided by a positive number, so it doesn't change. It's still going to be less than or equal to x. So y'all tell me, yesterday we learned, what situation do we flip the inequality? When you divide by a negative number, or if you multiply by a negative number, okay? So multiplying and dividing by a negative flips the inequality. This one divided by a positive, so we leave it alone. Now check it out. This is totally correct. 4/5 is less than or equal to x. But y'all know we have an EOC star test one day, right? On your star test, if you had this problem, they'd probably put all the multiple choice answers with an x on the left side. Okay? So we want to know, how do we get x on the left side? So I said it yesterday, but you can flip the whole thing. You don't always have to flip it, but you're allowed to if you want to. And sometimes you need to get the answer. Okay? So x goes to the left. 4 over 5 goes to the right. But here's the deal. When you flip the whole thing, you also have to flip that inequality. It's not going to be true unless you flip everything. So that less than or equal to becomes greater than or equal to. Okay. For emphasis, if you flip the entire inequality, you gotta flip the inequality sign. Cool? Let's do number 2. On number 2, x is on the left side. What's the loner that I need to get rid of? The positive 1, right? What's the opposite of plus 1? Negative or minus 1 on both sides, right? Cancels that out. Bring down negative sign, x over 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. Now here's the question. Do I flip the inequality? Remember, you only flip if it's multiplying or dividing by a negative. I know there's a minus sign there, but that's just subtraction. Subtraction does not flip the inequality. This is going to stay like this. How do you say that, by the way? Is that less than or greater than? Greater than, because it points to the right. The greater numbers go to the right. Okay. Now, this next step is kind of weird. Do you see how x is being divided by 4? But it's got a weird little negative out front. So here's the deal. That negative can like float around. It can be on top. It can be off to the left. It can be on the bottom. Doesn't matter. So we're going to float that negative down to the 4. This is being divided by a negative 4. What's the opposite of dividing by a negative 4? Multiplying, right? So to get rid of the divided by negative 4, we multiply by negative 4. On both sides, times negative 4. Okay, so on the left, the negatives cancel, the multiplying and dividing by 4 cancels. Now I just have x. 2 times negative 4 on the right side is negative 8. What inequality should I write between them? What's it called? Is it less or greater? So it doesn't change? So look, this is greater, right? But we just multiplied by a negative. Less than, okay? So why do we flip it? Because we multiplied by a negative. So everybody, anytime that you multiply or divide, you need to ask yourself, is it a negative? Did I just multiply or divide by a negative? Because if you did, well, that's going to flip your inequality. I keep saying this over and over and over because you just got to do it. You got to be able to flip it, otherwise it ain't right, okay? It's a small error I don't want you to make. So, that being said, I'm done. Remember, it is Thursday, different schedule today. You know, I always have it posted over there. But please use this time wisely. Knock out what you need to that's missing or correcting, and then make sure you finish solving inequalities. We have a quiz tomorrow, okay? All right, I'm going to let y'all work.